What's up, everybody? Hello. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And this is the Hustling Sideways podcast.
Mm-hmm.
On the weeks that we don't have guests like we did last week, or we will next week because we do every other week with a guest, we talk about things that side hustlers go through, with their own projects, their own passion projects. And today, and things that Jim and I also go through.
Yes, that's right. The things that Alan and I experience constantly.
Yes.
And yes, we do think of these shortly before we go on camera.
It's the best way.
Little
we
background
keep it
there.
Organic.
Yes.
Is what we do.
And today, while I was driving here and I was at a light and I wasn't texting while I was driving, let's just be clear about that. Don't do that.
Safety first.
Yes, I thought about this because this came up in reflection for me a couple weeks ago of people who I try to emulate or have inspired me to kind of do what I'm doing. And
Sure.
And it's important to think about it. We talked about mentors on this show before, and it could be that, or it could just be someone you generally like. That person's really cool, and I want to do what they do.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I was thinking about my speaking world, and I've been doing it now for just about 10 years, and how I got started and why I got started, all those different types of things. And there was a gentleman who I may have talked about before on this show, but his name's Eric Jackson, and he was the first speaker I ever saw when I was 16.
Sure.
And he was so cool. Like he was high energy. He was doing his thing on stage. I remember being like, that's what I want to do. Like,
right.
This guy's a blast. Like, everyone looked up to him, as one of those people. And so I got to know him a little bit through the leadership seminar that I did.
Okay.
And we kind of became friends, over the years. I went back every year. And then about 10 years ago or so, he gave me a call and he was like, hey, I heard that you want to do this. And I was like, who'd you hear that from? And it was my friend Kristen that told him. So
Sweet.
There you go. And he's like, let me help you out. So he mentored me for about 8 months to actually, I would record what I wanted to say on my phone, send it to him, and then he would redline it essentially, right? Like what I should focus on more, what I should do. And a lot of what I do, which is my stage presence and a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, comes from him.
Okay.
I really try to emulate a lot of what he did in my own way.
Yeah.
At first, when I did this, I was quite literally he would walk out to a song, so I walked out to a song, and then I found my jam and all of it. But majority of the energy that I bring and what I have seen was from him.
Okay.
And that's someone who I think all the time I'm kind of emulating the experience I had when I first saw him,
Sure.
which was different. It wasn't a guy just at the podium saying leadership is about doing good things, and I actually sometimes make fun of that when I go out because that's just the opposite of what a 16-year-old wants to see.
Yeah, what they want
and what I
want
to portray.
Bring to
So there's definitely a lot of what I do has some sort of his influence in it. There's other people along the way that have definitely, like John Gordon, who's the guy that does the one word every year. There's a few things that I pick up with folks, but if I'm thinking about the OG, the person that really I try to emulate, it's him, and he knows that,
Sure.
But the way that I felt when I saw him is the way that I hope students feel when they see me now. That's what I'm trying to put out there. And it's not just having fun, but his message was different. It's about being yourself. And I take a lot of what he did in my own kind of talk. And if you heard his and you heard mine, you'd be like, oh, okay, I see that there's some similarities here. Yeah. But that's what I learned. That's what I learned from him. And then I made it my own and kind of put my own stories around it. But the reaction I get from folks, I'm like, I hope that's what I wanted to kind of be equal to.
Yeah, and it's still unique to what you're doing as opposed to just being a carbon copy.
Right. I just go out and do his talk. That's kind of what I do now. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. My name's Eric. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah.
So it works out well. But that's someone who's always stuck out to me as being a really critical part of my development as a speaker.
Yeah. For my side of things, the blog era was kind of the genesis of breaking and entering.
Yeah.
Especially in hip hop music, there was this blog era where there were all these sites like Two Dope Boys, Hip Hop DX, Fake Shore Drive in Chicago.
Oh, I never heard that. That's great.
Yeah. And a few different ones like that was the place that people went and got their music from for a little bit. Pre Spotify, pre Apple Music.
Some things have taken over.
Yeah, when you had to download things and get them off of a media share website.
LimeWire.
This was they would link you out to those, right?
Man.
So they would put you on to all the different places that were putting out new music and where you could go get them. So breaking and entering was kind of born out of that. The one specifically that actually really did stand out to me though was Fake Shore Drive in Chicago. Andrew Barber. he was somebody that was just writing about music, and he was basically saying like nobody is covering this in Chicago. There were artists like the Cool Kids that were selling out, Talia Hall in Chicago, or selling out some of these venues, but it wasn't being covered by the websites, the big websites like Double XL, whatever, Rolling Stone, any of those kinds of things, because they were on the coasts and they weren't, you know what I mean? Like they just had no exposure to like people in my city are putting, are selling out venues here. So, I have always likened it, and I think a lot of people have always likened breaking and entering to like the Milwaukee version of that. Okay. And I hate saying the Milwaukee version of anything because I think like you can do your own thing, right? Like without it being a carbon copy. But the spirit of what Fake Shore Drive is was definitely there in the sense of like, look at all this talent that is in this city that is just happening that you don't know about, right?
No
like
one's covering it.
So many people, like. I used to say that it was a product of the media environment here, and it still kind of is because there are so many writers that are forced, some of the big writers are forced to cover everything from, major national releases or tours that come to Milwaukee to like somebody making something in their basement to like when Paul McCartney plays Green Bay,
right?
Plays Lambeau Field or something like that. So like they're spread so thin. Or there are other publications that just don't know about it, right? Like it's just not on their radar.
Yeah.
So we were always kind of that glue of being like, I always tell people we are everything from like the festival level all the way down to like some kid that is making something really cool in his basement.
That's really sweet.
And so like that is definitely comes from, being a byproduct of the internet. I will say that in terms of people that you emulate, like that has changed for me over the years too. Like now I've kind of absorbed a little bit of like I watch a ton of Gary Vee stuff. Right?
Yeah,
like,
sure. Yeah.
But I'm not trying to emulate Gary Vee, even though we have a podcast where we talk about business.
That's all we do. Yes, we are literally
hustles and
F
stuff
this,
like that.
F that. Yep.
But like I don't necessarily try to emulate some of that as much as I absorb pieces
Makes
of it.
sense.
Like, I mean, there's everything that I started to kind of watch and develop. I watched a documentary this morning on, it's an ESPN documentary on an esports team called FaZe Clan.
Oh, there we go.
That were like making content in addition to like being gamers.
You're in constant learning mode.
And
That's
I
good.
picked up something from that too, where I was like, man, okay, well, that's me. So like I absorb pieces of that. I don't try to emulate one particular thing, but I guess if I had to nail it down to one that was probably the closest to what the spirit of breaking and entering is, it's very close to the spirit of what Fake Shore Drive is.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that we have those things where we came from, and then how we move forward. And you probably have something similar to this. Whatever your passion is, it came from somewhere. Someone influenced you to do it. It may just be your thing, right? But
maybe it's us.
Maybe. Oh, I hope it is.
Oh, what if somebody is out there trying
awesome.
to be us?
Let's go. Now it has to be.
Now it has to be.
Oh, damn.
Especially if you're trying to be us.
Yeah.
We want to know all about that.
Yeah, type the shit out of that in the comment section.
Because we are super, super self-absorbed. No.
Yes.
Let us know who is the person for you that you most closely pick up things from, that you try to emulate the spirit of, that you try to...
that was different.
absorb.
It's a spiked lemonade. It was, I don't know why I wasn't expecting it. It was good. I liked it.
The spiked part got you.
Yeah, that got me.
In the meantime... while Jim absorbs that, we are going to check out, or what are we? No, we're not.
Just roll. Just roll.
About to introduce a song. It's been a long time since I've been in this room doing this.
Gosh.
We are the Hustling Sideways podcast everywhere. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us. We're on Facebook. We're on X. We're on Instagram. Snapchat. No, we're not on Snapchat.
Just speaking into existence. Yeah, that's fine. We're on all those
maybe
things.
We are. I don't know. We're on LinkedIn. We are on all the places that you can get your podcast as well. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, you can do that by sending us an email. It is hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
keep on hustling.
We will see you next week.
Peace.